Welcome back to episode 13 of Switch Point. Sorry for missing you guys last week, but we were switching things up. Okay.
There you go. No,
Okay.
I wasn't expecting Payne to do the opening, but let's just let it slide. Like just let it slide. That was
Look,
good.
I got to
All
get it
right.
in. I got to get it in sometimes.
We were sitting in silence for a good 10 or 20 seconds. Y'all are not going to hear that, but we were just like, you got to formulate the opening, and sometimes it has to be creative. Anyway, we want to talk about Switch nostalgia. Nostalgia for the original Switch. Because
we're
Switch 2 is coming out real soon.
10 days. 10 days from time of recording.
Soul and I were talking about this last podcast, dude. 10 days. We could have made the whole last podcast a Switch Point episode. But we didn't. It had to be weaponized. It's always like one has to be the other. Guys, this is a Switch episode. We're talking about Switch. So, Payne, you had a lot more Switch 1 experience than I did. So I think you should jump this one off. Because, I had it. I've had a Switch since the beginning of the Switch's life. Right? But I didn't use it as my primary gaming platform. I've always been a PC guy. The main thing I was playing on Switch was, Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Metroid, right? Like it was just the main Switch games, Fire Emblem, anything that was first party Nintendo, of course, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But when it came down to it, I wasn't treating it like Soul treats it, where he kind of plays everything on it. Now with the Switch 2 coming out, that may change, right? So I want to know, what was your Switch 1 experience like? Just go through it. Start from the top.
Yeah, I just gotta say, I feel like quite a few people had your Switch experience, though. I know plenty of
Right.
people who are, more of a PlayStation gamer or PC gamer first and foremost. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, those first party titles, second party titles that you were mentioning, that's the main reason I own a Switch. But
Facts.
what's interesting about my Switch experience is that so, I grew up with Nintendo consoles. I had the PS1 and 2 also, and I just kind of loved both of them. But when it came time to pick a next console, because growing up, limited money and all that, you basically picked a console and stuck with it for a few years. And
Yeah.
well, I wanted a Wii U because I was such a big Zelda fan, and that early Breath of the Wild trailer before it was even called Breath of the Wild just had me. So I had a Wii U and didn't have a PS4, and so that just went to me being ultimately, I wouldn't quite say completely satisfied with the Wii U. Everyone knows that story.
Oh
there's
my
there's
God.
some interesting and good things on it, but now I'm playing those on my Switch. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I got a Switch not launch day, not when it came out in March. I got it well, technically it was literally the first day of 2018. So about 9 months into the life cycle. So I was at least there year 1.
Yeah.
I got that the one with the neon red and blue Joy-Cons. I feel like that model just popped so much more than the charcoal gray ones.
Oh yeah. No, I had the charcoal gray ones because I just like gray. But nowadays I'm getting a little more colorful. So I
Like
probably will get really colorful Joy-Cons for the Switch 2. Going forward, I'm gonna be less mundane and monotone and less monochromatic with my style.
I get
I'm
that
just
cuz I lean more towards the blacks and the grays like you do. But what I liked about the Switch is that, the entire base unit is its charcoal gray or dark color, and then you get that splash with the Joy-Cons. So I thought it was just almost sophisticated in a way.
No, I agree. It became more sophisticated when the OLED came out.
Oh yeah.
Better construction overall. When the OLED model of the Switch 2 comes out, shout out to Samsung. Whenever that comes out, that's going to be one of the most sophisticated handhelds, pretty much. The Steam Deck is made out of plastic. They're all made out of plastic, but I think Nintendo is just
That
the most
the build
prestigious
quality is
company.
so different.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, especially the Switch OLED. Like that just feels
oh,
so much better than every other
it's
like
like
PC handheld
that's
I've
like
put in my hand.
the iPhone of like handhelds. Like it feels
No, I agree.
pristine.
Honestly, bro, I said that. I literally said that the very first time I held the Switch OLED. I was like, man, this is like I'm holding an iPhone. Now it's not literally like holding an iPhone because the iPhone is made out of titanium. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hold an iPhone bare, raw,
Yeah.
pause, in your hands, it feels like, it feels great. Like it really does feel great. And so I don't know, bro. Apple would be the king of everything if they just used all their money and just decided to waste it on gaming.
Like,
But they're not gonna do that.
sadly. But that's something I can't say that I'm satisfied with my launch year Switch that I still use. God, the
Oh,
OLED just feels so much better. Like one of my friends has one, and I'm like, please just let me, because I'd heard the stories, and you're not gonna get the true feel of a console from like a store demo unit. You ever touch a store demo unit? You can feel like a million layers of grease and oil.
oh yeah, because everybody's touched it. You're never gonna get like the fresh out of the box. Like, you're never gonna get the fresh out of the box Switch OLED experience. When you're at the store using the freaking kiosk, like the kiosk unit Switch is gonna feel like crap. And that's why I don't buy used Switches because they're being held every single second of every day.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem with the 3DS. Is like trying to buy a 3DS is such a huge headache because they've all been touched profusely.
And like you can feel the difference when something has that, like especially in handheld. Like, dude, I still have my original DS Lite. It's
Oh yeah.
it's
Whoa.
almost 20 years old at this point.
I have my original DSi. My DS Lites and my DS, like all the hinges broke on those.
Same, but like, dude, that
It's funny
model's
because I never
so,
dropped them though. They just broke.
like my
Like the hinges just broke.
same, like in school, because obviously I was younger when I had a DS. But
Mm-hmm.
they had like the Scholastic book fairs, and you could like, I ordered like a case for my DS, and it like slipped into
Right.
this case, and it actually had like a drawer that held extra cartridges. So
Right.
so like it was always fully protected, but you're right, those hinges just broke after like just a certain amount of use.
They sucked.
And I feel like the original Switch had that problem. Like after actually touching an OLED, it's like, good lord, it feels like a wet noodle in comparison. Like I'll hold like the Joy Cons of this, like the launch model Switch, and just it feels like the console's gonna just go flying out of my hands like a wet bar of soap. Like it just
Yeah.
like those Joy Cons do not feel like, if you angle your hands a certain way, you almost feel the bend of them in the rails. Like it's not good if you have anxiety. It's not a good anxiety console.
Anxiety console. What?
Like
Yeah, I
gosh.
need an anxiety console. I need a console that's good for my anxiety. Guys, can we make that? That's totally worth our R&D.
I
We
mean,
need a console that's sturdy.
some people might treat things like that. This is my
No,
anxiety
I know.
phone. I have to stem on Twitter and be upset.
No. I'm tired of doom scrolling.
That's what the Switch, the Switch and the removed like the web browser. Oh yeah, on Wii U, I could go on Twitter and doom scroll and hate my life on the big screen.
Oh yeah. No, bro. I almost said something crazy about using the browsers on a Wii. Oh wait. No. I
Cut,
I don't think I
cut.
was doom scrolling on the Wii U. No, I'm not cutting. I'm not cutting. I don't think I was using the browser on the Wii U. I remember using the browser on the PS3 though. That was me cuz I didn't have like I mean I had a computer but it wasn't like I don't know. There was a time period where consoles were actually really powerful like that. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays I'm just like everything I'm doing is on my PC. Like I'm not
Yeah,
finna browse on no console, bro. It's crazy. I'll browse on my desktop or I'll browse on my MacBook. And maybe my iPhone if we're talking about just internet browsing and doom scrolling, yeah, I'm doing it on my iPhone. But I can doom scroll on the desktop. It's not as like you doom scroll less when you have to do more hand motion, like when you have to do
yeah,
more, when it's just like your thumb It's just way easier to doom scroll.
So now that the Switch 2 has like the like mouse
The
mode for the Joy
mouse.
Cons, yeah, we need to we need to contact Elon Musk right now and be like, look, you got to port X to the Switch 2, and that'll be like our first big port. You know,
Yeah, we need
we're
that
not finally
that
getting
export.
Netflix, we're getting Twitter, which honestly,
Yeah, the Switch 1 lost the access to Twitter. So like we can't use Twitter on the Switch 1 anymore because the API changed and everything changed. So we need X on the Switch. Man, X on the Switch, you'd be seeing some dastardly things
yeah,
on your
I
Nintendo
don't
Switch.
think it'd be very I don't think it would get the Nintendo seal of approval on it, honestly. Will it be on a game key card? Get X on a game key card and install.
Oh, yeah. You need the 18 plus like game key card to access X. X is where I get everything. I don't need to go anywhere else for anything. Unless there's just something I'm specifically looking for, X has it all. So I don't think Nintendo's going to want to have X on their
Like
on their console
that's
because like
X is it's quite literally a vertical slice of the internet. You're gonna get the worst of the worst and the best of the best. Like
that's a great description, honestly. I never thought of it like that. But, you know, the Nintendo Switch, I had got it when it came out. You know, I got Breath of the Wild, and I remember being absolutely disgusted with the performance of Breath of the Wild. Now, Mario Odyssey was fine.
hey, back
That
off.
was a fine
I played
experience.
Breath of the Wild on the Wii U the first time.
Bro, you're disgusting.
Yeah,
You're
you had
disgusting.
like
I have a friend that did that
8
too.
extra frames than me. I have
Right. No, I had a friend that had a Wii U. He's still my friend. I don't know why I said had, but he played Breath of the Wild on the
that
Wii
was the
U.
final straw. He played Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and Rain was
He was
just
like,
like,
"Oh my god, I'm playing it in the bathroom," and I'm like, "Brother, you don't know the half of it. Like, you're playing on the Switch pad or the Wii U pad, you know?" And he's like, "I'm playing on the Wii U pad in my bathroom." I'm like, "Is this the first time you use this console?"
like
Like,
I played the Fire Emblem Game Boy Advance game on the gamepad in the bathroom.
dude, dude,
Look,
Fire Emblem,
yep.
Engage.
No, I sat at my desk on my beautiful monitor because that game's so pretty. That honestly is one of my favorite parts of seeing like a new Fire Emblem come out is you just see like a bunch of artist communities explode. There's a bunch of fan art. You see people
Oh my
gushing
god,
over
I
these
love it. My
characters. I love
favorite.
seeing clips of like supports.
Oh,
So you get a bit of taste of the character.
this is what I am as an adult now, Payne. Is I like art. You know, when I was a kid, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like on the internet like scouring through, you know, deviant art. Like, you know, I was playing the games. And I was like, yeah, this is a cool looking character. And growing up, you know, you games really need a remaster in order to get the art community flowing. Like if something's not popular, you don't got a lot of art for it. And that sucks because there's a lot of characters that I'd love to see more fan art of that just don't get a lot of fan art because they're not popular games, you know?
Yeah, like and having like this is something Noah and I have talked about quite a few times. It's like Xenoblade 2, which when we hop back on like more the nostalgia train stuff I'll talk about, of course. But it's amazing how all these years later Xenoblade 2 is still getting like mountains of fan art. And that's just such a good feeling. Like it's like a strong community.
I mean, I mean, that's like being like, hey, you know, Nier Automata is getting fan art. Like, of course it is. Of course it is. For 2B,
Look,
9S, and A2.
and 2B just is about to get added to Call of Duty.
Dog. I can't. I don't even want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that.
Look, I won't sleep until Mithra and Pyra are in Call of Duty. We need to
Nintendo's never going
start
to do that.
campaigns.
Oh my God.
Put them in Splatoon.
Mithra and Pyra, though. Sheesh.
I
God.
mean, look, my personal pick wouldn't be those. I'm a Nia stan.
Okay. You are. I knew that already, by the way. I
I
already
mean,
knew that.
one look at my Twitter,
Yeah, I
the
knew.
where it's been various Nia profile
I knew.
pictures for like as long as the
We
game's
know.
been out.
Yeah, we know. We know. You're not fooling me. In fact, let's talk about this. Nintendo, in the grand scheme of all Nintendo canon, what is your favorite Nintendo game? And then we can talk about your favorite Nintendo Switch game.
My
What's your
favorite
favorite Nintendo
Nintendo
game?
game.
Favorite Nintendo game? Yeah, overall. Like,
This
consider all Nintendo games. I've put you on the spot. You're going to be stuttering for the next 10 minutes.
honestly, my gut honestly almost does say Xenoblade 2. Like
Wow.
like
Whoa.
trust me, I love me some Zelda. I kind of want to throw Twilight Princess out there.
You're killing me. You're killing me. Twilight Princess is incredible, by the way. Absolutely
It, it
incredible.
it's
The
incredible.
opening is not that great, though. The opening's not that great. I think the
It's a bit
opening of
over
Twilight
long.
Princess is really long and boring. But once you get past that opening, you're just like, you're Gucci, dude. That game
I
is
think the
peak.
problem is like the tutorialization because it's like like in Ocarina of Time, like you go to the ranch and they're like, oh, you get like one text box telling you to how to use the horse, and that's about it. Well, then Twilight Princess has to slowly set all of it up.
So is Twilight Princess your favorite Zelda game?
Honestly, I'm gonna say it is. Like, I also love Wind Waker. The only Zelda game I have not played is Four Sword Adventures.
Oh, I've played that.
Yeah, it sucks because I was gonna finally get to play it. Because my buddy's like, oh, I found the case from when I was a kid, so we can actually sit and complete this game. He opens the case and there's no disc.
Oh my god. That's
I
terrible.
know.
Do you know what my
Game.
favorite is?
Oh, what?
My favorite Zelda game. My favorite Zelda game is,
Skyward Sword?
stop it. No. My favorite Zelda, no. Like, no. That's terrible. If your favorite Zelda game is Skyward Sword, you are like a 13-year-old in like a 25 plus year old's body. Like,
Okay, I'm gonna have to. When we release this episode, I gotta tag a friend in that because that's basically just him.
are you kidding me? No, no, no. I don't even want to talk about this right now. Let me talk about my favorite Zelda game, and then we can talk about that later. That's ridiculous. There's no way that he's played any other Zelda game if he thinks that Skyward Sword is the best Zelda game. My favorite Legend of Zelda is Majora's Mask,
That's just a good take.
bar none, bar none. I've never even questioned it. I've never even
I love
questioned it.
Majora's Mask, but I just find other Zeldas easier to replay
No, I
in a
understand that. I
sense.
understand that. I think
But
Zelda.
when you play Majora's Mask, it's like an event. You're like invested in this world,
No, I understand. You
and
have to be. You have to be. But here's the thing, Payne.
it's draining in the best way.
Zelda fans have trouble finding out what Zelda game they want to play, because or which Zelda game is their favorite. Because Zelda is, so good. It's so good that like it's just so difficult for people to find out what their favorite is, and it's like then we have to have a serious dialogue about what is a favorite even, you know? Because I didn't even know what my favorite video game was for a very long time. I was like, what is my favorite video game? Because my favorite Nintendo game isn't my favorite video game, right? But some people are so Nintendoified that their favorite game is a favorite Nintendo game. Now, there's a lot of games that exist outside of the Nintendo sphere. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I will tell you my favorite video game of all time is not a Nintendo game. It is Kingdom Hearts 1. But my favorite Nintendo game, Payne, has to be Donkey Kong Country 2.
Honestly, another good take, especially like as a platforming fan, like God, I think the soundtrack alone makes it
David
just a good
Wise,
contender.
oh my Lord, David Wise. I will talk to David Wise. I will have to just get in contact with him. I haven't even tried. I'm sure it's not that hard. I mean, I don't
You
know.
should do that and see if you can commission him to make a Final Weapon theme.
Oh, I would pay so much money for that. Are you kidding me? Does he know how much money I would pay? Does he know how rich he'd be if I was just there, just giving them a bunch of money to make themes. I have a
Look,
story
no,
I'm writing, and I have a book that I
Noah
want to
would
make.
ask for a $1 million loan and flee the country to make this happen.
Oh, fleeing the country. I mean, I don't know if I could talk about all this on the podcast, guys. I don't want to flee the country. I'm staying. Okay. America, I love it. I'm not taking out any loans. Oh, it's okay. I'm not leaving. I'm
Hey,
here.
we might have to get a Switch too.
That's true. But my favorite Pokemon game is Pokemon Emerald. Boom.
Good choice. Can you guess what
Boom.
mine is?
Black.
Okay, it is black and white, but I grew up. I had like white
I
version.
just
Then I got
blew
black. I got
your
black
mind.
too.
I just blew your mind at how fast I
Is there
predicted.
something?
And I
Is
don't
there
even.
something about me where you just look at me and go, "This guy's a Gen 5 lover"?
No, it's that it's black and white. And I just spoke to your girlfriend.
Well, you're talking to me too now, so I guess. Hold
No,
on. Let me call up a couple other friends.
no. I just
Okay.
spoke to your girlfriend, and your favorite Pokemon games are black and white. The joke. That's the joke. And that's it comes together. It all makes sense. And you know what? I actually don't know why I guessed that. I only guessed that because Unova is my favorite gen.
That's like,
Gen 5 is my favorite
I
gen.
just hope, dude. I swear, if they do what they did to Diamond and Pearl to Black and White, I'm gonna cry.
I don't want to say that I'm going to go to Seattle and then go to Tokyo or wherever TPC's headquarters is in Japan, but I will say I will start in America. I will pull up and I will say, you, I don't want to use the word because it's a podcast. I want to curse so bad.
You
'Cause
infidels.
you infidels. How could you
This
Ilka
is
this game?
sacrilege.
This is sacrilege. How could you Ilka this? My beautiful N, my natural Harmonia Gropius is ruined. You ruined him. How could you ruin Getsis? How could you do this to me? How could you ruin
What we
Zekrom, Reshiram,
what
and
we
Kiram?
need
How
is
could you do this to me?
HD 2D black and white.
Oh,
Free
stop.
idea.
That'd be so goated. But I feel like that's not technically superior to what we already had. I mean, it's subjective, of course, but like black and white, the sprite work in that game is phenomenal. Some of the best sprite work I've ever seen on
Like
the DS.
it's insane jumping from original like 1995 Gen 1 sprites to black and white.
Oh, it's crazy. And you know what? That's the last time they did sprites, right? For like, just in battle sprites. Like, I cannot believe that Game Freak no longer has a key thing that makes them special anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was like, there was no DS game that had that level of sprite work. Like, Digimon Dawn and Dusk looked good, right? But like,
Like
the sprite work in
even
black and white was nuts.
SMT, not even SMT like got up to that level.
No, it was like, yeah, Pokemon felt like a high budget, like big deal. When you were playing it on, pre like even 6th gen felt good actually, because 6th gen still was 3D and some of the environments were dope. And then, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance blew every 3DS game out of the water. If we're talking about like
Dude,
graphical
I'd love to
fidelity,
talk about that. Like
we can talk about it right now.
first
We're on
first
Switch Point.
first I'll say, God, Kingdom Hearts has been done so dirty on Switch, but the DS and 3DS days were so awesome. Like you were just saying, Dream Drop really does just, I don't know how Square does it. And that game was
Oh,
made in like
Days was a
what,
huge flex
8
too.
months?
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
Days was. But like it always blew my mind. Like I had a buddy, he got into Persona through Persona 3 Portable.
Yep.
And that's a very downgraded version from something like Fess, where you have the
Yes.
2D map screens and all this, and like no anime FMVs. It's all stills. And it's crazy to go from that. And then you look back at even something like Crisis Core with full 3D cutscenes and cinematography and lots of enemies on screen. Like
Yeah.
Square just knows how to work some portable hardware. Like Dissidia looked amazing. Dream Drop. Like you
Oh
weren't just firing up your 3DS and getting an experience like Dream Drop with a game that
no.
looked that good with that many cutscenes.
No, Dream Job was the best looking game on 3DS. Like, I would love for somebody to tell me something else looked better than Dream Job. Like Dream Job, like that played better than BBS, and BBS was on the PSP, and the PSP was putting out 3D games on the daily. You know, the 3DS had 3D games, but they didn't look like, Midnight Club Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't look like that.
Yeah,
So
and some of that I just feel like I just said, Square just they know how to use their hardware.
they do, yeah. The PSP was supposed to be more of a PS2 kind of like handheld replacement in a way. Like it wasn't necessarily the same thing. It didn't have like, the full blown triggers and everything that the Switch has. Like,
Hmm.
if BBS had more buttons, it would play better. It's the fact that it came out on the PSP that it plays so trash. And also Osaka team was not tenured and they did not know what they were doing. But, that game would have played way better if it had more buttons that you could access. The PSP only had LR and the little tiny stick, Like there
The
was just not
stiff stick,
a
like
stiff little tiny stick that's like literally almost surface with the freaking console. Like it's so small. Whack. Whack. I hate BBS's gameplay. I think it's the
oh,
worst.
I think it has a lot of cool ideas. Like the general combo stuff is so whatever. The form change stuff's cool, and I get addicted to things like the command melding and like the
Yeah,
materia fusion and Crisis Core.
right.
So that's what keeps me going through BBS. That and each route's pretty short at least.
Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance looks so good on the 3DS. And the Nintendo Switch 2 really needs to have
Just
Kingdom
put the
Hearts
all-in-one
full
on it.
blown. Bro, what's so weird is that Melody of Memory is not on Steam. Like what
For
is going on?
real? I thought they dropped it with everything. Did
No,
they for real leave that one out?
that was the one they
That's
left out.
crazy. That's crazy.
It was on Epic Games though. It's a fun game, but it's like not essential. You know what I'm saying? It's not an essential game.
Yeah.
It's not all that. People talk about Melody and Memory like it's actually like a
What
really good game.
it's
It's
not
okay.
integral.
No, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Riku can go to Quadratum too. Oh, Fairy Godmother knew about Quadratum this whole time. This is not a Kingdom Hearts podcast, guys. Um, we can make one of those. It's called The Lost Pages. In fact, Payne,
Yeah.
if you have enough Kingdom Hearts knowledge, you can come on The Lost Pages.
About all I'd want to do is study up on Union Cross. That's
That's really what you need to
that's
do
about
because
it. Yeah.
most people don't know anything about it, or at least they know about it, but they don't know enough about it. I'm in the same
I
boat.
I think I actually have it installed on my iPad still, like even after it got delisted.
Oh yeah, you can still play Dark Road offline because it was always offline. That's just a
And then
game.
Union Cross is just a cutscene theater now. You just make your avatar. They give you every like costume, outfit piece,
Hmm.
and you can just make your character and watch all the cutscenes.
Well, you know, my character in Union Cross was swag. He was swagged out.
I was so
I
upset that I wasn't there for the data transfer because I lost. I can't even remember the swag I had, but I remember really liking it.
did you know, by the way, not Nintendo related, but on Switch Point anyway. I looked on Steam and Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition has more concurrent players than Sparking Zero.
It just feels like
Like,
they dropped the ball with their content roadmap.
oh, it's bad. It's really
Hey,
bad.
it looped back to Switch 2 because that's coming out on Switch 2.
Right. I've never seen this many people playing Cyber Sleuth, by the way. Cyber Sleuth actually always has a viewable concurrent, by the way, which is crazy. Like Digimon. Like there's a Digimon game that always has a viewable concurrent. It was 1,600 today on Steam. Like 1,600 people were on their computers playing Cyber Sleuth simultaneously.
Gotta get hyped up for that new Digimon game, which honestly
That's
does
coming
look
on the
sick.
Nintendo Switch. And you know what? Digimon, no, it's not.
It'll
Time
probably
Stranger,
be on Switch
it'll be
2.
on
There's
Switch
no
2.
way. No
The
way it
Time
won't be.
Stranger needs to come to Nintendo Switch 2 because I don't think it's coming to Switch 1. Yeah,
Like,
it's
dude, did
Metaphor didn't even come to Switch 1.
did Digimon Survive come to Switch 1?
Yeah, I did. Digimon Survive
Okay.
came to Switch 1. Okay, we can delete all that. Let's think. So, Digimon Story, Time Stranger is gonna. Once that comes out, bro, every other Pokemon game has a hill to climb. And I know people are gonna say, "Why do you keep comparing Pokemon and Digimon all the time? Like
I
in all
mean,
your videos?"
just look at what Digimon's doing.
Yeah, look
Like
at what it's
it's
doing.
it's right there.
When people picked up Pal World, I was really, really pissed off because I was like, "Why are we so hyper fixated on like having a Pokemon replica? Like we have other monster battling monster catching RPGs that exist. Like why does it have to be like a fake Pokemon? Your Power
Yeah,
World is
because
just a fake Pokemon. It's
Digimon's so
fake.
unique with
Digimon
its
is
own
incredibly unique. And they
monsters.
came out at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like they came out
Hmm.
at the same time. People call Digimon a clone. Digimon is its own thing. It was a result of, Bandai with Tamagotchi. Bandai was like, we need a
Like a
male
boys
centric
line,
version.
yeah.
Yeah, a boy centric version
When
of
in
Tamagotchi,
reality, the boy-centric version is the Kaoru Ava Tamagotchi.
right? The reality
Hmm.
is you have a phone in your pocket that might only be $100, but Moore's law is a thing. At least it was for a while, right? And if you look at the difference between an S9 and an S25, it's very obvious. The
Yeah.
S25 is way more powerful, right? The Nintendo Switch 2 is way more powerful than Nintendo Switch. Just because we have the technology doesn't mean that we're implementing it all the time, right? Like we
Hmm.
have, 50 series Blackwell architecture, right? But are we implementing it in any console right now? No. We have
No.
Ampere in the Nintendo Switch 2 because that's what was out when they were making the console, right? Yes, there's more powerful technologies out there. That doesn't matter because this is an Nvidia console. The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to outperform what people's expectations, anybody's expectations, even mine, right?
And it's also just like a thing, like when you compare like a PC to like a MacBook or just any Mac. Macs are just better at certain things because they're a closed system that are highly optimized for their chipset and
Apple
architecture.
Silicon is better than everything. Like Apple
Like,
Silicon is better than everything. Like that's not me
dude,
glazing. I'm
when
not
that when that
glazing.
first when that first M1 MacBook Pro came
Yeah.
out, people were buying them without the screen for because that cut like half the price off. So you were getting like one of the world's best performing computers for like $1,000.
No, it's true. And you can buy a MacBook Air for $900 and it's like the best purchase you're ever going to make on a laptop. Like literally. You could
Like
not make
it's
a
a
better
it's a
purchase.
portable workstation. Like
Yeah.
it tears through audio, video editing.
I
Like,
just bought the Adobe Suite. I just became an Adobe slave recently.
uh, I don't want to go back.
But, Payne, to have 45 minutes of Nintendo audio, I must say the Nintendo Switch 2 is running on Ampere, right? I'm really
Hmm.
impressed by what they've shown, right, with Cyberpunk and the fact that we know now that the entire Final Fantasy VII trilogy is coming to Switch 2. That's a
Yep.
flex, right? That's a huge flex. And Cyberpunk 2077 looks so good on the Switch 2. It's honestly
And
blowing my mind.
it cracks me up at how much people were worried about this power disparity.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I remember like when some of the first like manufactured like spec leaks came out, and Digital Foundry's like, well, the Switch 2 should be as good as this laptop, and this laptop barely runs Cyberpunk, and we're seeing this
Cyberpunk is a
footage,
big deal. Yeah.
and
People
it's way better. It looks better than it did on PS4 Pro.
No, it does. 100%. Yeah, 100%. And what I'm trying to say with Cyberpunk, and I made this point in Weaponized, Cyberpunk is the benchmark of today, right?
It
It used to be
is.
Crisis, and then it was like Deus Ex Mankind Divided. And even if you didn't play that game, it was a benchmark, right? For like DirectX 12 and stuff like that. Cyberpunk 2077 is the modern benchmark, right? That's the modern crisis benchmark. I talked about this in Weaponized. In the previous episode of Weaponized, I talked about this. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the best looking games ever created, right? It is one of the best looking games ever made in every facet of the imagination, right? Now the Switch 2 doesn't have like, the capabilities to make Cyberpunk 2077 do path tracing, for instance. But who cares? It's a Switch 2. It looks really good. And honestly, the comparisons I'm seeing between the Switch 2 and the PS5's graphics, they don't look that different. In fact, they don't even look different at all. So, the Switch 2 might be outputting, at least handheld wise, it might be outputting PS5 level performance and graphics. The Switch 2.
Because like this stuff, like there's a big like weird thing with how people view graphics in this day and age. Because everyone
Right.
will see like these videos of things on a 5090, but that's not the bottom line. Like that's not really going to define anything about the future of gaming for years and years to come. Because like you said, like when like a console or whatever's made, it's going to be the hardware when they decide they're going to make it. So it's going to be a couple years older when it's out. But they can make up with that because a simple fact is just PC doesn't have the same like hard metal drivers and everything that a console can have. It's like think about shader compilation issues that PC gets. Well, that's just a much more highly optimized thing on consoles. So we can't really, look at something like like let's say the Switch 2 is something like a 2050. Like let's say it's something like that, like a 20 or 3050.
Right. No,
We can't really
I think
draw a
the
linear
Switch 2,
comparison.
I that's true. But I mean, there's still a way to kind of like, gauge it, and we can make an estimate. If it's not, then I'm cooked, right? But I'm saying this now on the podcast. I think the Switch 2 is close to the PlayStation 5. I think it's close. I think it's close enough to where it's like I don't think it really matters. I think I'd rather play my games on a Nintendo platform all day long, you know? Especially handheld, bro. Are you kidding me? Oh my god, where's the achievements? Oh my god, where's the achievements? I agree. Where are the achievements, Nintendo? I need
I feel like
achievements
that
on
would have
my
been such a
console.
slam dunk. That would have been such a slam dunk. And Noah and I were shooting around ideas like they could be stars, like rather than trophies or whatever. Like like a Mario 64 star, and you collect them for each game, make them different colors. Like you can put so much personality into it, make it feel like a Nintendo achievement system. But no, we
They
have
could do
basically the
that.
same OS.
I don't know what's going on with the achievement system, man. I really would love to see achievements on the Nintendo Switch too, but like it's just like I don't think we're ever gonna get that. And so I mean, we just got to live with it. Play your games and have no evidence of your achievement outside of just like taking screenshots and video. Because that's the whole point for me, at least for, trophies and achievements and stuff. It's like there's evidence, easy evidence to prove, hey, I did this.
It's a
Like this is
it's a
something I
chronicle
did.
of your journey. Like
Exactly.
sometimes you're just sitting up at like 3 a.m., just nothing you really want to play. And I've just browsed my PlayStation trophies and thought about, man, Near Automata was such a good game. I loved Stranger of Paradise. And you just look through your trophies.
Stranger of Paradise is so good, bro. It's underrated. It's Stranger of Paradise is so underrated, bro. That
It,
game is so much fun.
they should put it on that's like, we just need like the Switch 1 missed out on so many good games that it couldn't quite handle unless you just butchered them.
Right, no,
Like,
facts.
this is the opportunity. I'd love to play Stranger of Paradise portably.
That would be so sick. That'd be so sick, bro. I
And
really,
like,
really need
bruh,
Stranger of Paradise on Switch. Bro, Stranger of Paradise, bro, I played that with my friends, bro. It's just like, it's a cool little time. It's not like some Elden Ring level of complex. It's not like the complexity is not on the level of Elden Ring. It's not
what
on the
it
level of Elden
reminded me
Ring, but it's
of,
like, it's cool.
it's
It's
like
like,
it's like a good PSP game to me.
oh, that's kind of
Like
a
you know,
roast. That's kind of a roast, bro.
no, for me that's a compliment. Don't you just love?
Oh.
Don't you love like a good PSP RPG where you just hop in, do some missions, and see some interesting things, and just have a fun time?
The answer is no.
No,
Man,
wow.
I feel like the PSP was just like so undercooked, like in terms of like the games that were coming out. You know, I don't know if you ever played the Dynasty Warriors game on the PSP, but it was not like the console
Oh
version.
no.
It was so bad. It
I
was
haven't
not like the
played
console
that,
version.
but I did try Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Nightmare.
No, no, no. No, 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 no. It's not even about the frame rate or anything like that. It's just about the content. Dynasty Warriors has been out for so long with, you know, the entire map. Imagine jumping into a game in Dynasty Warriors and every single like there's like the map is like instanced into like 20 different pieces. Like it's really bad. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like the
Bro,
fact that
like
there was like
Monster
loading screens
Hunter.
between every single like instance. It was terrible.
Ugh. Yeah,
Terrible.
that sounds like a horrible system constraint. I bet you could just hear the UMD being read
Going
when playing that game.
like, you know, the UMD
This is
just
what
spinning.
this is what cartridges took from us. I don't get to hear my system hum to life.
I like the PSP. I watched a lot of stuff on it. Me and Soul were talking about how we had watched like it was called Samurai X, but you know, Rurouni Kenshin. You know, like
Hmm.
we had watched like the Samurai X like RSS feed, like, you know, we download the anime off the RSS feed. We have an actual copy of the anime on our PSP. Him and I had the same experience with the PSP. We were watching anime on the PSP. It was so cool. The Nintendo
It
Switch
really was
2,
ahead of its time.
the Nintendo Switch 2, it was. The Nintendo Switch 2, as much as I'm excited for this console, it's not going to have the same level of, you know, I was so immersed on the PSP, bro.
Like
I
it had a
had,
music player, it had a
oh my
browser, it
God,
could
bro.
watch
It was literally a
videos.
computer. It was literally like a computer, you know? It was like a phone level device to me at the time. You know, it was a phone level device at the time. It had Skype. It had
Yeah,
Skype.
the PSP camera and everything.
Wow. It was
You
so
know, there's
freaking
like
sick.
some like retro taxis in Japan that use the PSP like GPS as like their like GPS
I
system in their
need
car.
to see this, bro. I gotta see that. That sounds so sick, bro. You know, I'm a big sucker for like cybercore, like Y2K aesthetics, you know? Like
It's
that would
awesome.
definitely scratch, you know, the itch that I've had for that being implemented in real life because the biggest issue with being super upset me oh dude, I'm about to get in it. Me having ADHD, right? And having hyperfixations and getting obsessed with like these kind of very particular things like cybercore and stuff like that is that nobody's walking around with a CD player. You know, like that's just not how the world is. You know, you don't go
If only.
outside and seeing somebody, you know, Persona 3 fans are not going outside and people are using Audio Technica like over ears. Like that's just not, you know, they're not using the Makoto Yuki Audio Technicas.
It's
You know,
because we're in
like
a dripless society.
bro, facts. People just ain't got no drip, bro. They're cooked. They're cooked, bro. People are cooked.
It's like it's so terrible how Kingdom Hearts has been done on the Switch.
I
Because
agree.
we had 1 and 2 and Birth by Sleep on the Sony platforms, which core fan base or whatever, but every other title was on a Nintendo system. So like
Yeah.
half that fan base has just been starved, and those cloud versions are not a buffet. Those are scraps in the Arby's dumpster.
Oh my god. Arby's dumpster? Yo, we need an opinion on Arby's from Payne. Payne Grist has to give us an opinion on
Here's my
Arby's.
review of Arby's. They're okay. They're sandwiches. I'd rather home make like a gourmet sandwich. But yeah, like my Switch nostalgia basically boils down to I got it first year, and my first game was Fire Emblem Warriors.
Dog, Fire Emblem Warriors was okay because all the Warriors spinoffs are alright.
Yeah,
They're alright. One
it's
Piece
good. It
Pirate
was just
Warriors is really good
disappointing.
though. One Piece Pirate Warriors is
Honestly,
the only one besides like the
it was
actual original series. Go ahead.
it was shocking that Pirate Warriors like 4 didn't get a PS5 update till like what, a few months ago.
It's really confusing. It's really, really confusing.
But yeah, then I played Xenoblade 2, and I'm sure you'll hear me and Noah, other Noah, talk a lot about Xenoblade 2 in the future.
Facts. No. Xenoblade 2. Oh, there's going to be. Y'all just stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. We got something
I
big on the
mean,
way.
so I think you can. I mean, we have a series about Xenoblade, so I think any viewer or listener can figure out where a lot of my Switch nostalgia came from.
They can ascertain it.
But
Xenoblade
beyond that,
Chronicles 2 is like the opening. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah. But God, I'm trying to think of other nostalgic things on the Switch. I just played like 400 hours of Xenoblade 2.
That's you, bro. You're a Xenoblade geek.
And then there's Noah. What goes above geek? Freak? He's a Xeno freak.
He is. He's a huge Xeno freak.
And I mean, that basically boils down my nostalgia. I bought a bunch of games on Switch that I ended up buying on other consoles to, to play a better version of. One of my biggest Switch purchase regrets is the first Atelier Ryza. I'm like, why didn't I just buy this on PS4?
Oh, I know. You're just like, why does
Well,
this
the
suck so
well
bad?
the real reason was because the family I was staying with at the time, I didn't want them to see my anime girls on the big screen. See that's what makes the Switch so amazing. You get to hide in a corner and look at anime girls.
Well, guys, Nintendo Switch 2 is on its way. I'm excited. Payne's excited. We're all excited for all things Nintendo. Check us out at finalweapon.net or follow us on our Twitter at FNLWPN. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Xenoblade 2, Xenoblade 2.
Goodbye.